afternoon, or good morning. Thank you for joining us today on the Upside Up podcast. My name is Jeremy, and I'm joined, as always, by the one and only Garrett Horn. How are you, sir?
Fantastico!
I'm glad that you're that way, whatever you said. We're also joined
That means
by
fantastic.
Well, I'm glad you're fantastic. We are joined by both of our editors today, Caleb Valander and Corbin Roth. How are you, Corbin?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm doing well. And you, Caleb, how are you?
Fantastic.
We are glad that y'all joined us today on the show. And today we're going to be talking to Corbin about Boy Scouts and his experiences therein. We'll have the Clash of the Wits. And then Caleb's going to talk to us about flying. And then
Caleb can fly?
Caleb can fly. He's like a flying squirrel.
That's amazing.
That's why he's on the show. So, no, but then we have a little bit of a surprise segment here at the end before we close it out. So you can look forward to that. All right. Well, anything before we get started? Okay. He shook his head. Listener, that
I'm excited to have these guys because they're funny, but they never talk on the show. So
yeah,
you're in for a real treat.
Well, we're really not supposed to do that.
Yeah,
we don't want to get in the way of
the
the good people. Yeah.
Right. Well, y'all do a fantastic
Are we
job.
the good
Well,
people?
thank you. Well, the good listeners and the people that we have on here, our guests.
Yeah, we've had a lot of guests recently, so maybe we'll just have to have a me and Garrett episode soon. Anyway, so we will start with Corbin, and I'll ask you the first question, sir. What got you interested in Boy Scouting?
Well, I think it was more like I started way back in Cub Scouts. Okay, so way the little Tigers. I believe you have to be in first grade to do that, and my parents got me into it, and we just when we moved here to Athens, we actually my parents took over the troop there, so they came in charge.
Gotcha.
and they planned it all and helped lead that group, and so I've been into it since the very beginning. So I went from Tiger Cub all the way up to Eagle. So
That's pretty awesome. What was your favorite part about being in the troop? They call it a troop, right?
Yeah, troop or mostly a troop.
I wasn't in them, so
yeah, they probably just the people. I mean, especially down here or up here, we're able to be so blessed with Christians and those who fear God, and it's just great being a group with those people. I mean, we had some people from our congregation that were in that group, and others too, just from around the surrounding area. And that's probably the best part, is just the people, the friends you meet, the nice adults, just all the nice, positive people.
Right. I know that your dad is an outdoorsman. I wouldn't classify Corbin Roth as being an outdoorsman. You're wearing a Star Wars t-shirt.
Yeah,
so.
yeah. I'm an odd person. I like a variety on the two different spectrums. So.
Yeah,
But stereotype, Jeremy.
Yeah.
Well, I'm just saying, he doesn't fit in the mold.
think
and I'm glad that.
Are you
Well, thank
offended?
you. No, you should be. No, I accept I'm a weird guy.
Well, we like you.
Well, thank you.
You're fun. Go ahead. You had a question for him.
Yeah, what did you, I was an Eagle Scout. We were in Scouts a little bit
Yeah.
together. I'm a little bit older, and you were like a little kid when I was in I was in Scouts.
little
I remember
Corbin.
you being a
Cute
big
little-
kid. You were a big kid to me.
Yeah,
You were in
cute little
charge.
Corbin.
Yeah.
But you had glasses back then.
Yeah, I did have glasses. I had little round glasses. Yeah.
What did you do for your Eagle Scout project?
I did a tree identification trail, and what we did is it actually took a little bit more preparation, and it's something a little bit different. You might have been to one before, especially if you go hiking. You'll see these trails that have these numbered markers, and they'll hand out a key to you, and so you can kind of look at the trees and know what it is, and maybe what species, and maybe what it's used for. And so we actually did the old railroad trail. And forget what town that's in, but so what we did is we biked down it, and my dad and I biked the whole trail, and we actually used a iPad app to identify the trees. We took some bark and some leaves, and you put that leaf against a white piece of paper, and it would identify it for us.
Wow.
And then what we did is we bought the wood from Lowe's. We spent a whole afternoon just getting all the wood, and we cut them, cut a nice triangle at the top of them, and numbered them. We painted them, numbered them. We bought a Dremel and did the numbers, and we got a nice keys, and with all the things. I think we did 16 trees, if I remember correctly.
Nice.
All up and down that trail, and then So each Boy Scout project, each Eagle Scout project you do has to incorporate you leading your troop in some way. So I was leading my troop in digging holes in the ground basically and sinking those poles. So, unfortunately, yeah, exactly. Unfortunately, it was really cold that morning. Really cold, and of course that makes the ground really compact. And if you've ever dug any holes, you know that can be kind of tough. But we did it, and we had a great time. We did it very efficiently, so it was good.
Are you their most hated Eagle Scout because of that?
I don't think so. But
No, we had one that was a lot harder than that.
Yeah. Like what?
Jake Salins. Did you help with his where we built those benches?
Jake, but, no, it wasn't that one. No.
Whew, that was rough.
That was rough.
We on the trail that goes from Highway 72 to Athens High School.
Mm-hmm.
We had to.
That's
we
right.
put those benches in.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
those
nice benches. But it was hot. That was a big job. Whew.
Wow.
That was not fun.
So the point of becoming an Eagle Scout, like the point of the project or whatever you said was to lead.
Yeah.
So that's really all you have to do is you just have to lead.
Well, there's actually, believe it or not, there's a lot of paperwork that goes into these things. I mean, Garrett can attest. There is a lot of paperwork. You have got a whole packet of papers and things you have to get signatures for and write up of what you're doing, what supplies you need. They want to see your whole planning process down to the grain.
How you get your supplies.
Yeah, how you get, where did you go? Like we went to Lowe's, so I had to get I had to give them the receipt. And another reason too is they want you to look into getting grants and such from that company where you're buying it from. So like Lowe's gave me like $100, and I was able to get my whole wood for like $100. So that was great. But yeah, believe it or not, there's a lot of paperwork, and you have to send that paperwork into other people. There are committees that have to get together and review your project and approve it.
Right.
So you're like your scout leader, your scoutmaster, and then the co-scoutmaster, whatever the second in command is, basically assistant scoutmaster, whatever. And so yeah, basically you have to do a lot of paperwork. There's a lot of running around. I had to go to the Department of Agriculture for like Athens or Madison, and I had to talk to the guy and get his signature on it because we're putting those on city property. So it all depends on what you're doing. That defines what you how much work you have to do, really. So
then you had to do an interview like with a panel, right? To after you finish it to get your Eagle Scout. They had to
we can't talk too much about that. Actually, they ask you when you come in. There's a panel. I believe mine was 6 men, and they're all Eagle Scouts or have some sort of rank in scouting, and they ask you a series of questions, and that determines if you get your Eagle Scout or not. So, but there's all these other requirements to even get to that point. That's really just to make sure you have done what you say you've done, kind of thing. You know, they don't want anyone getting this reward without actually doing the stuff that you need to do. And they just evaluate your character. That's a good way of saying it.
Sounds nerve-wracking.
So, yeah, it was a little bit, especially when you're 16 and you're a little nervous there. And it's just you and these 6 men. You can't. I mean, thankfully my scoutmaster was there.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So
he wasn't there for me.
well, he wasn't in the room, but he was there when I got there. But yeah.
Well, Garrett, how old were you when you became an Eagle Scout?
18.
18. Gotcha. Okay.
I was a procrastinator.
Yeah.
I think it was one of the first ones out of our group to, maybe the only one out of our group not to get it at 18. 18 is the cutoff mark.
Oh, okay.
You can't get it if you're above the age of 18.
Overachiever. You homeschool.
Well, yeah, exactly. No, I mean, it took a lot of work, but I didn't want to be bogged down with it, really. I wanted to be on time and not be pressured to.
Was that a goal of yours to become an Eagle Scout from the get-go?
I wouldn't say from the very beginning. This happens to, I think, almost every scout is about halfway through, maybe about 2 years into Boy Scouts, things start happening. And normally about the 15, 16-year-old range, you get a car, school gets more serious, sports gets more serious, everything gets a little bit more serious in your life, and that really turns a lot of the boys away from it. It becomes too low on the totem pole of important things they want to do. I took about probably 6 months off Because of that, my school got really serious. Other stuff I was doing got really serious, and it kind of fell to the wayside. And but thankfully, my parents, helped me pushed me to get it done, and I've got a lot to owe to them just in general for that. It takes some pressure on the guys to get it done in a timely manner. So.
Gotcha. Well, I'm glad that you're able to get that accomplished. That's a really cool
Well,
accomplishment. So, kudos to you, buddy.
Thank you.
Now, I know a big part of scouting is camping.
Oh, yeah,
and I know
definitely.
that's a big thing with you. We've actually been on a camping trip together.
Yes, we have. Yes.
Garrett was there as well this past spring break. We all had a camping trip, and it was 40-degree weather at night, if I remember correctly.
I think so, yeah.
Have you had any interesting camping excursions that you'd like to bring to the table?
Yeah. I mean, I've got a few camping things. One of them, just a little fun fact. One time we slept in a kind of a field, and it was one of my first Boy Scout camp ones. So when we're older, one of my first ones, and it was just a little field, but it was so cold that night that we got out of our tent and there was ice, literally coats of ice over our tent. So that's been some of the degrees. In Cub Scouts, we have a whole patch for those who go in, I think it's 40 degrees or lower, or negative degree. If you hit negative degrees or something, you get a polar bear patch.
Oh, cool.
Wow.
So, yeah, there's stuff like that. Another big part I'd say about camping is Boy Scout camp. Probably one of my favorite times to go camping with your troop. And I'll just tell a little story here real quick. I'll try to explain this. So at our Boy Scout camp, it was right on a lake, and safety is a very important part, I'd say, of being at a Boy Scout camp. And when anyone to get hurt, they've got a lot of first aid people there. They have real doctors, and everything. But one of the things they do for swimming is they have this little a buddy tag. I call it a buddy tag. Okay. And when you come into the swimming area, okay, you're supposed to take that buddy tag off, okay, of this big board with some nails in it and rows and columns and such. And they want you to take that off, okay, put your pocket or whatever, as long as it's not on that board, so they know who is in the water.
Gotcha.
Okay?
Makes sense.
Well, that year at Boy Scout camp, I was what we call a SPL, okay, so a senior patrol leader. So I was... normally that's the oldest scout, and I was the oldest scout that year, so I was in charge. Basically the boy who's in charge, and that's not an adult.
The man with the plan.
Yeah, exactly. And so I'm supposed to, know where my troops are. I'm supposed to know where my guys are. It's about time for us to do, every mid-morning we do a flag ceremony, and everyone's coming back from their classes and their merit badges, and this one guy forgot to put I won't name him, but he forgot to put his buddy tag up on that board.
Was that your brother?
No, it wasn't my brother. No, thankfully not. No. And now this place is Boxwell. So if any Boy Scouts live in Boxwell, it's a really big place. Okay. So you're walking probably a good quarter of a mile, maybe a little bit less, from the lake to where the flagpole is. Okay. And so this guy forgot to put his buddy tag up there and is walking back towards us. Well, in all this time, they have sounded the alarms because they think he's drowned because no one else is coming out of the water. It's one buddy tag that's not up there. So, where is this kid? And he was one of my kids, of course. And all of a sudden, this other SPL comes running up to me from another troop. And he's like, do you know where, this guy is? And I'm like, no. They're like, well, we can't find him. I'm like, what do you mean you can't find him? I was like, where was his last class? Swimming. And I was like, well, is he back from that? Or what's the problem? How do you know he's not there? Like, he forgot his buddy tag. His buddy tag's not up there. I was like, oh, great. So I had to go get our guys. And so anyways, he caused a big commotion. Ooh. And I mean, I had like 2 adults, heads of the camp, my scout leader. We were all there in a circle trying to figure out where he might be. And then he just kind of walks right up behind me. He's just like, hey guys, what's going on? And I just like, really? Like, did all of this stuff. And another big thing about that too is when they think someone is drowning, all the lifeguards, I mean, we had like 6 lifeguards, all have to do these special dives. Okay, so they have to go straight down, touch the bottom, come back up. Straight down, touch the bottom, come back up in a line, making like that wave, like a radio wave. So yeah, that was a pretty exciting moment for me, since I'm somewhat responsible
right,
for
right.
where my and I felt responsible. And
Did he get a stern talking to?
No, but we make fun of him now. Like every time we see him, he's done some other things too. But yeah,
You didn't make fun of. I mean, you didn't give him a stern talking to.
no, but I mean, my scout leader might have, but I didn't take control of the situation in that sense. I was more worried about where he was and his
Right.
health and safety. But yeah, there you go.
Do you have any more questions for him?
Yeah, well, what was the biggest overall lesson you learned from scouting, and would you recommend other younger guys to do it?
I would highly recommend it, especially if you like any type of camping. I mean, I know some of this stuff can be hard. There's all these lists of requirements and stuff, but I would really encourage you to do it. If you're anything into camping or hiking, I mean, even water sport, biking, water sports, you don't even have to. There's a minimum amount of camping you have to go on, but the camping, I mean, is the most fun. But if you enjoy any activity, I mean, they've got running. All those qualify for merit badges. Shooting, I mean, you don't even have to be athletic. I mean, my brother loves shooting. So, all those qualify as merit badges. And there's certain merit badges that are Eagle required. So if you want to get your Eagle, you got to do some of these little extra things, but they're really not as hard as some people make them out to be. It's really just staying strong and going through the course. Probably my thing that I've learned the most in my time is our motto, which is be prepared. I mean, that's really stuck with me in everything I do. I'm just being prepared as much as possible. That's really ingrained in me. I think I have that to thank. So yeah.
Are you prepared to go off to college like you're about to?
I think so. I hope so. To the
wrong.
best of my ability.
You're wrong.
I'm wrong. Yeah.
No. Well, best of luck
Some
to
things.
you. We appreciate you bringing that Boy Scout
thank
Scout
you.
stories. That's interesting stuff. Before we move on, Caleb, did you have any questions going through that for him?
No, not really.
Okay.
Sounds like you had a lot of fun.
Yeah,
Thank you.
it
We
does
did.
sound fun.
Did.
All right. Well, Stephen this week has a kind of a political joke for us as we transition into the Clash of the Wits here. Stephen, his joke was Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump are in the middle of the ocean on a life raft surrounded by sharks. The raft starts to sink. Who wins? America.
Love it.
That's good.
That's
That's good.
pretty funny. And Justin's also water themed. Need an arc? I know a guy. So Caleb, what was your
Speechless.
favorite?
No one knew what to say to that.
It was good. It was okay.
I've only heard it like 37
Yeah.
times.
Yeah.
So, but he thought it was funny.
Get
so
some
I-
new material.
Yeah. Go to a different website, Justin. All right, Caleb, you are, I guess I would say, in training to become a pilot. Would you consider yourself that way?
Well, technically I am a pilot, just a student pilot. I'm not a full-time private
Okay.
pilot.
So you like to fly planes? That's been something that you've been interested in since you were little. I believe was it your grandfather that got you into that?
Yes, you could say that. Back several years ago when I was probably 12, my grandpa and my grandma were living in Colorado and they were planning on moving to Illinois with us. So I needed to go with my grandpa and my dad to Colorado to help them move. So my grandpa bought us all plane tickets and we three headed out on a plane to Colorado Springs. And that was my first ride on a plane, and I really enjoyed
Right.
being up in the sky. So.
Gotcha. So is that your favorite part about being able to fly? Just being able to be up there in the sky with the birds and clouds and that kind of thing? Or?
The best part is when you're by yourself in a plane, there's a sense of freedom. You don't have any restraints. You don't have to stay between the lines.
All right.
You don't have to go a certain speed limit. I mean, there are rules to follow, but it's much more free.
Gotcha. I couldn't imagine that much freedom with that much danger
I know.
associated. Like, driving a car is very dangerous, and there's plenty of evidence for that, but it's not as dangerous as being up in the air.
But really, with the training we get, it's much safer to be in a plane, surprisingly. There's nothing to
right.
hit.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. I suppose so. So explain to us what it's like to see the sky and to be able to be up there in the sky. To be able to see the horizons, to go through the clouds, to see the sunset, that kind of thing.
Well, I personally haven't flown through any clouds.
Okay.
Because it's illegal.
Okay.
until
Really?
I get my instrument rating, yes. I mean, small clouds, sure, but nothing big.
Okay.
Especially like thunderstorms and stuff. You don't want to get in those. There's
Right,
very
right.
strong winds and hail in them.
Right.
So, but being up in the sky, it's amazing. You can see. Well, they'll say on the radio when you listen to the weather, there's a viewing distance of 10 miles.
Uh-huh.
But that's just as high as they go. They don't go any higher than that. So really, you can see probably 50, 60 miles
Wow.
off into the distance, depending on how high up you go. But it's just amazing. Everything is so tiny. It's like a play, like some kids play kit on the floor.
Oh, Lego
Wow.
kit.
Yeah.
That's really neat. Do you have any stories or experiences from? You say that you're in training. You don't have any kind of license as of yet, correct?
I have a student license,
You have a student
which
license.
allows me to, right now, solo a plane, so I can fly by myself in this area. At the moment, I haven't done my cross country, so I can't go to any other airports besides Decatur.
Gotcha.
But
How far are you from being able to be a full-time licensed pilot?
depends. There's several tests that I have to pass still, and I have several more flights to make, cross countries and such.
Is it a mix between written tests and
Flying tests.
flying tests? Thank you, Garrett.
Well, it's sort of like a driving test, yeah. It's actually one of each. There's a knowledge test on the ground, and then the instructor will go with me in the plane and see how I handle it.
Gotcha.
What's the farthest you've gone?
Farthest I have gone in a plane. I flew for 3.5 hours. We went to Mississippi, Jasper, Mississippi, I believe. And then we flew from there to somewhere south of here in Alabama. I can't remember the name of it. And then back to Decatur, but it was a total of 3.5 hours.
What's it like to be in the cockpit? Is it really cramped? That kind of
Particular
thing?
plane I fly, yeah, it's very cramped because there's only 2 seats and you're shoulder to shoulder.
Okay.
If you move your arm, you'll bump the other person.
Gotcha.
But it doesn't feel that cramped because you're underneath the plexiglass bubble.
Okay.
And so really you can see everything around you. It doesn't get claustrophobic or anything.
Right. Gotcha. I don't know that much about planes, so maybe the listener doesn't either. Enlighten us. What are cockpits? Are they pretty standard across each plane, or does
Yes.
each one have, like for a FedEx plane, for example, is it going to be that tight as the small plane that you've flown?
No, they're not all as cramped as the one I fly. The one I fly is a very small plane. It's a trainer. It's not meant to carry any cargo for any length of time. It has a maximum flight time of, I think, like 4 hours at any one time. So you have to stop and fill up every 3
Gotcha.
or so. The bigger plane is going to have a lot more space, especially ones meant for long distance. They'll have more space, a lot more comfortable. They'll have like air conditioning, stuff like that. The one I fly does not.
Oh,
It
okay.
gets very, very warm.
It's a little inconvenient.
But
yeah.
the nice thing is it's like a convertible. You can pull the top back while you're flying and
Really?
actually have a lot of air in there.
That's really cool. I did
didn't
not
know
know.
It's
I thought you
amazing.
couldn't have any.
A lot of planes you can't. Like a Cessna, your standard trainer plane, they'll just have doors on the sides. But this particular plane is a bubble top cockpit, so you can just pull it back while you're flying. You don't want to pull it back too far, otherwise everything will fly out of the cockpit. But you're going probably 120 miles an hour or so you get a good breeze in there.
I would imagine.
Yeah.
I didn't know that the atmosphere it would work and all. So.
Well, I don't fly up that high. This plane's
Gotcha.
not meant for anything above, I think, 10,000, something like that.
Okay.
So
Right, it's not even close to a commercial plane.
no,
right?
not
Yeah,
even
yeah.
close.
Okay.
You need oxygen in a plane at around 14,000 feet.
Okay.
So, I mean, you can. There's no reason you can't breathe it in the particular plane I fly. So.
That's really cool. I can't imagine what it'd be like to be able to fly and have it in a convertible.
I think the most fun I ever had in the plane, I flew over my parents' house. Okay, it's fun just to fly over people's houses because I mean you can.
Yeah.
And anyway, I flew over a couple times to get them to come out of the house, and one of my sisters came out. The rest of them were busy or something. I'm not sure, but she came out, and so I like tilted over a little bit, and I was waving out the top of the cockpit. And she actually saw me waving.
That's
As
awesome.
I
Wow.
was flying over the house, so It's pretty sweet.
That is sweet. I guess those smaller planes would be more fun than like the commercial jets, I would imagine.
Yeah. Yeah, it'd be like the difference between driving say a Miata versus a city bus.
Okay. Okay. Alrighty. Well, what do you have any questions for him, Garrett?
No, is it like is it something that you thought about maybe being a dangerous hobby? Because I've wondered with things like skydiving, flying planes, and stuff like that. Like once you learn how to do it, yeah, it's not dangerous, but I would think learning how to do it would kind of be a risky thing. You know what I'm saying?
That would be terrifying. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, to start off with, you're not by yourself. You have a trained pilot instructor with you. And at any time, he can grab the controls. There's always 2 sets of controls in a plane, one for each seat, for the pilot and co-pilot. And so if there's anything you do that the pilot doesn't like, there's a system that we use where it's a double confirmation type thing, where if he wants to take the controls, he'll say, I have the controls. And then the co-pilot will say, you have the controls. And then he'll, again, affirm, I do have the controls. So that way both of the pilots are with each other on the same page, knowing who's in control of the plane at any one time. Same thing with learning how to solo. Everything you need to know, you'll be taught many times over before you actually get to do it. I've spent over 35 hours in the plane just flying around. So people think it's dangerous, and it can be if you try to act up, be silly or whatever, if you try to show off. But if you're flying normally and not trying to do anything crazy, it's actually safer than being in a car.
Yeah.
According to the statistics. So.
Have you ever had any like thing kind of dangerous happen while you're up there, run into any storms or anything?
No. If the weather's even remotely close to being bad, we don't take it up.
So you've never... What's the closest you've had to wrecking it?
The closest I've had to wrecking it, I guess. I mean, there's been some hairy landings where it's, you hit the ground a little hard or something and you bounce a little bit. I mean, it's all part of flying a plane. It's not an exact science. It's
right.
You just trying to get the thing down on the ground.
Yes.
So even the best of pilots make mistakes sometimes. The hairiest thing probably was when I was in training and there was no one else at the airport. Okay, it's an unmanned airport, so there's no controllers there at all.
Uh-huh.
You can pretty much do what you want to as long as there's no other planes around. So we were practicing touch and goes. Just come down, hit the runway, take back off. Keep on doing that round and round and round. And on one of the trips back to the runway, the instructor just yanks the throttle, turns the engine off all the way, except for, it's just idling there. And he says, all right, land the plane. Your engine's out.
Oh, dear.
The plane, once the engine turns off, a plane does not have any upward climb. It's all downhill from there, literally. You have no lift at all. The plane nosedives down toward the ground. You just got to keep on. Watch that airspeed, because if you don't watch the airspeed, your wings won't have any lift and you'll just drop out of the sky. So it's exciting.
Oh, I can't imagine. That would stress me out.
Guessing you made it though.
I did make it.
Well, good. Was it a good, clean landing?
It was not pretty, but they say every landing you walk away from is a good landing. So
Okay.
Landing's the hardest part.
It is. Taking off
that.
is difficult, but it's pretty easy once you figure it out. Landing is the rough part because your power's low, so you don't have a whole lot of lift over the wings. There's a lot of turbulence from the wind, especially at Decatur Airport. The wind comes over the buildings and kind of rolls, and so the plane's bouncing around everywhere. You got to hit the middle of the runway.
Uh-huh.
So it's a lot to look at. You got to watch your airspeed. You got to watch your descent rate. You got to watch the runway. Obviously, you got to watch planes around you.
Whew. I couldn't do it. But if anyone that I know could do it, that would be Caleb Valander. So, best of luck to you in being a pilot. What is your end goal in flying?
Well, I've changed it a couple times.
As of now, I
right,
guess.
right this second, I'd like to do it as a hobby. for a while, I've wanted to do it as a job, but I've come to the realization that I really don't like the regulations that you have. Like I said, there's not a lot of rules when you're flying. When you're not flying, I'll show you this book. This is the rules and regulations that you have to follow.
Okay. Wow.
And for y'all that can't see, this is a book about 3 inches thick called the FAR AIM book, and it is the Federal Aviation Regulations and Aeronautical Information Manual. It is full of all sorts of regulations made up by people that don't fly planes.
Wow. Okay.
Some of them do, of course, but otherwise they wouldn't know what they're talking about. But a lot of it is voted in by people that really don't know a whole lot about it. And so some of it makes sense because some of it's just common sense.
Right.
A lot of it is stuff that lawmakers think is a good thing.
Tell us how many pages are in there.
I have no idea. I have never looked.
Last.
Looks like over 12,000. Or 1,200.
1,200. Woo!
Wow.
So,
Yeah, I don't think I would want to learn all that.
not all of it applies to me, but the stuff that does is just as confusing as the rest of it. So,
Right.
a lot of it is open to interpretation. So if the lawyers think you're doing something wrong, then you're doing something wrong.
Okay.
I think I would enjoy it. I just don't know that I want to put all the brain work into it. It's very, very confusing at times.
Yeah, I can imagine so.
But I do want to continue flying as a hobby. Like with an ultralight plane,
Right.
there's very few regulations for them, and I just enjoy flying.
Yeah.
I thought it would be more like that with a larger plane, but there's a lot more regulations.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Well, best of luck to you. Do you have any questions for him, Corbin?
I have a weird question real quick. Have you ever wanted to jump out of a plane? Like, would you be into skydiving or?
I almost did.
Oh, really?
A couple months ago. Almost. I got
Almost.
within a couple days of skydiving. But,
Oh, wow.
I did not know this. Caleb is my brother-in-law, for those who don't know, and I have not heard this
Well,
story.
a guy at work wanted to go skydiving for his bachelor party. And he invited me and some other guys to go. Ended up we couldn't get enough guys to get the discount, so we didn't all want to pay like
Right,
$200 a
yeah.
person to go jump out of a plane. So when I'm in the plane, no, I do not have any urge at all to get out
Right,
of
yeah.
that plane.
Are you wearing a
And I-
parachute?
Huh?
Are you wearing a parachute when you're
No.
flying?
No, in a standard plane, you don't wear a parachute. Experimentals a lot of times have parachutes, or you'll wear one. They're coming out with these new parachutes. They've had them for a couple of years now, called ballistic recovery parachutes, I think. Basically, they're attached to the frame of the plane, and if you're in trouble, you yank a handle, and it'll pop the parachute out the top of the plane and drop the whole thing down. So.
Gotcha. That's very interesting. Well, best of luck to you. I'm glad you haven't jumped out of a plane, at least without me. I don't know if I want to do it, but don't go without me if you're going to go do it. So. But
I have to remember that.
yeah. Well, Gable gave us a question this week on the show, and we'll read this off, go through this right quick, and then I'll get to our little surprise change up to the show, and then we'll close it out. So he texted me, all right, well, this question's mainly aimed at Garrett, but open to anyone who really wants to answer it. In an earlier episode, Garrett said that Spider-Man was his favorite superhero, and no superhero could beat him. I remember that very vividly. Is there anyone from any universe, Star Wars perhaps, who you think could put the whooping on Spidey?
You know, it would be tough for Spider-Man to deal with the Force, because, he's, except for his webs, if he shot his webs at him, they'd be able to manipulate that and everything. And so I think that he would have a lot of trouble with the Force. Yeah, and when I say no superhero, I don't think I was being quite literal with that.
Right.
He's my favorite superhero. I think Superman could beat him.
You have
easily.
some flack from that comment.
Yeah, I've caught some flack. But I will say this. Spider-Man would destroy Batman. I mean, that's going to create a firestorm, but he would destroy Batman.
I think I'm on
There's
your
no
side.
way.
I don't think so.
Listen, Batman is a regular human.
He's also trained as a ninja.
He's
Yeah,
brilliant.
it's not exactly
But
completely
Spider-Man has superhuman strength. He's smart like Batman is smart. There's no way Batman could beat him.
Well,
In my
anyway, the little bit of change of the show, I think we're going to start doing this thing where we give you, the listener, a listening assignment for that episode. So usually it's going to be a song, and I'm going to start out with the first one. Garrett's probably going to do next episode. But I suggest you go and listen to It's All Right by Huey Lewis and the News.
Yeah.
I love that song. If the idea of this is to get you to broaden your scope of listening, so it will usually be a song you haven't heard of. You may have heard this one, but Huey Lewis and the News is one of my all-time favorite.
I know that.
I love them. I'll tell you what, they're so good. But anyway, go and listen to that and let us know what you think of the song. Along with those lines, like us on Facebook if you haven't done that. We love interacting with you guys. We'd love to hear your comments and everything. So go like us on Facebook. Follow us on Twitter. If you have a Twitter, we want to interact with you more on Twitter. Facebook's a little bit more difficult to interact with people than Twitter is. So go and follow us on Twitter and subscribe to us on YouTube. I'm sorry, not YouTube. What am I saying?
We have a YouTube channel?
No. On iTunes, and get the episodes downloaded to your phone. You can listen offline. All right, well, a couple quick shout-outs before we leave. We want to thank Katie for her work on our jingle, Kevin for his work recording that jingle. We want to thank Justin and Stephen for their jokes. I think we can all agree that Stephen won this week.
Steven's 2-0.
2-0. Bringing his A game. Justin, you got to step it up, buddy. We want to thank our editors, Caleb and Corbin, for their work every week. Corbin's about to leave us to go off to college, but we will keep in contact with him.
Keep listening, buddy.
And we'll probably be asking him for help for here and there when he's got time. So,
You bet.
definitely don't want you to leave the family here at Upside Up.
Our big family.
Our big family, 4 people. I also want to thank you guys for joining us for this episode. It's something we've wanted to do is have you all on so your voices can be heard. We really enjoyed the conversation that we've had. So best of luck to both of you guys. I want to thank Garrett for joining us.
You're welcome.
Yeah. Love doing the show with you, buddy, and looking forward to the future here with our show. So I think we've got some exciting things in mind that we want to try. Thank you, the listener, for joining us today. We hope you enjoy our show, and we'll continue to listen. And remember to stay upside up in this upside down world. See you next time. Gotta go. Gotta go.
Where you going, Garrett?
I gotta go change my shirt because I'm bleeding seam. I got sauce on it.